My name is Jeremy Van Gendren, and we are excited to talk about the love of Christ over the next few weeks here at the Full Send Curriculum. We're going to be looking at Ephesians 3 and then other verses to go along with diving into what is truly the love of Christ. Listen to these verses from Ephesians 3. For this reason I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth is named, that according to the riches of his glory he may grant you to be strengthened with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may have strength to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth, to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. Looking at these verses, it talks about the breadth, the length, the height, and the depth of the love of Christ. So here in week 1, we're going to talk about how long and how wide is the love of Christ. When you look at these words, it looks like it's a coverage area. How wide, how long, this is what it's going to cover. In fact, the breadth word here in Greek comes from the original word of a potter's form. The potter forms this, and as he forms it, he stretches it out and he covers a certain area with this piece of pottery. And so this breadth, this length, this is a coverage area. And we ask ourselves, what does the love of Christ cover? What does the love of Christ contain? How far does the love of Christ go? And so we're going to look at a few passages here. In 1 Peter 4:8 says, above all, keep loving one another earnestly, for love covers a multitude of sins. In this passage, when we're thinking about how wide, how much does the love of Christ cover? Well, it says that if we as we keep loving each other earnestly, or without ceasing, the Greek word there is like pray without ceasing. Well, this is to love without ceasing. We're supposed to love without ceasing. When we do that, we see that love covers a multitude of sins. And in the Greek here again, it's the fullness of sins. So when we love unceasingly, we will cover a multitude, or all in the fullness of sins. Meaning, when we love people, love covers, love goes over sin. It does not hold grudges, but it forgives. This is the beauty of the love of Christ. You notice back in Ephesians, it talks about this love of Christ that is almost unable to be understood. We can't comprehend this love of Christ. And truly, when it comes to forgiving people, how wide the love of Christ is, it's hard for us to understand how to truly forgive and love everyone, especially those who have hurt us personally, those who have done horrible, horrible, horrible things. Reminds me of the shirt in the background here. And that shirt comes from a sermon we did back in the summer. And we were talking about how the clothes that we wear, that's our old life, and our sin, it cuts up, it makes them rags. And so that's a cut up shirt. And we remove that shirt during service and put on a fresh shirt, because that's what it is in our life. It covers up our cut off shirt. We take it off and we put on something new. So we're no longer under that sin. It covers it. That is how wide the love of Christ is. We think of how long is the love of Christ. Another passage back in the book of Psalms, Psalm 136. It's a unique psalm because it'll say a line and then it says another line, and that second line is always repeated. For example, here we go. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Give thanks to the God of gods, for his steadfast love endures forever. Give thanks to the Lord of lords, for his steadfast love endures forever. To him who alone does great wonders, for his steadfast love endures forever. To him who by understanding made the heavens, for his steadfast love endures forever. And it continues on through the rest of that chapter. It'll say a phrase, and then it'll say his steadfast love endures forever. So if you want to know how long the love of Christ goes, it's forever. The love of Christ is from beginning to end, from creation to the end of the world when he comes back again, when the new heavens and new earth. His love continues forever and ever. For all eternity, the love of Christ will be there. So there's no place and no time that you are outside the love of Christ. The love of Christ is available, is there for you and for me. This is the beauty of the love of Christ. And another thing that we can't fully understand this side of eternity, that Christ's love lasts forever. It always has been and always will be. This is the love that has been given to us and that we are to give to others. So, over this week and next week, as we continue to grow in what we know about the love of Christ, I pray that we will go into this world filled with that love of Christ, so that we can also express love wide and long, that there is no limit to who we love, that there is nobody outside of our love, because we have been loved by Christ and have been commanded to go and love others as well.